Hi everyone. It's Sunday afternoon in Saitama City. It's a bit chilly today, no blue sky today. Um, but it's not that cold compared to a couple of days ago. It's about 7 or 8 degrees today. So I'm thankful it's not so cold. And it's nice to be inside the house and warm, and I've got my heated carpet on, so that's nice and cozy. So today I wanted to make a video about basically the quarantine toolkit. So what helped me get through quarantine for 6 days after I arrived in Japan. So as you know, I stayed in a hotel in Tokyo for 6 days because I was coming from Massachusetts. So it depends where in the United States you're coming from, what state, and globally what country in Europe or Asia or Africa you're coming from. So the quarantine length depends on where you're coming from. So check your country and check that against the probably the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so the local Japanese consulate or embassy in your home country. Check what the rules are for your own country. So basically, yeah, I arrived at Narita Airport on the 14th of January, and then later that evening I was taken to a quarantine hotel with a bus full of other people coming from different countries, and I stayed in that hotel for 6 days, and what really helped me was basically this toolkit, this bunch of stuff that I had prepared in advance, and I had learned a lot from the Facebook group that I mentioned in my prior video, the Return to Japan support group. It's a Facebook group, and I over several weeks I observed what people were saying and what they were bringing with them to the quarantine hotels, which can really help you get through it relatively unscathed, if I can put it that way. So one of the most important ideas that I got from that Facebook page was this little thing. So this is actually a mini crock pot. So every day at the quarantine hotel, you receive 3 meals a day, 3 obentos, and they all come cold. Nothing is ever warm or hot. So if you don't want to be eating cold meals for 3 days or 6 days or the 10 days that you're in quarantine, I really recommend one of these. So basically, I ordered this from Amazon when I was still in the US. It was maybe about, I think, $25. $25 to $30. I think money well worth spent because you can use it after quarantine at home. So it's it's like a little compact crock pot. The wires are at the very bottom. They fold nicely so you can store it away. So you open it up, and there's actually this lid goes on top here to cover. So it's basically this lid and then this on top. And then in terms of size, this is kind of the size inside. So you can see for one person is plenty. For 2 people, you might have to take turns depending on how hungry you each are. But I mean, for me, it was plenty of space to heat. I don't have a big appetite anyway, so I mean, I would, warm up my rice, my tofu, whatever I could warm up from the bento box. And you just plug it in and you wait. If you want your food piping hot, then I would plug it in before putting your food in, maybe for like 10 minutes or so. But I would normally just plug it in when I got the food and maybe wait about 20 minutes or so. For me, that was good enough, but you can obviously heat it longer depending on how hot you want the food. And then also for breakfast, I usually didn't eat the bentos because they were a bit heavy for me, so I had brought my own like English muffins and butter and jam from the US. So I would warm up the English muffins in here, so they'll be warm. I mean, obviously not toasted, but hey, warm is good enough. Hey, so then after you're done, you wash everything and you just put it all back together, and that's it. And then it basically stores away. So I think one of the best tips that I got from that Return to Japan Facebook page. So whoever made that tip, thank you so much. That was a lifesaver to have warm meals in winter in quarantine. And then the other thing that I had was I brought kind of my own set of cutlery. So some silverware, just, a fork, a knife, and a kind of a sharper knife if I need to cut something. My own chopsticks. I mean, it's great, to use the disposable ones, but hey, just having your own stuff makes it feel a little bit more like home. So I also had my own mug. Actually, it was a Christmas present from my sister. Thank you. And then I would make my own tea. So I brewed my tea using this little thing. Just dunk it in there. So yeah, the tea leaves, again, I brought from home. You could bring tea bags as well. I had tea bags. These tea bags I bought as well. So I had both options, the tea leaves or the tea bags. Whatever teas that you like, or coffee or hot chocolate. For me, I love tea, and I also had some tea spices. This is tea masala. So it's actually a mixture of ginger, cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, black pepper, and nutmeg. So I'm originally from Kenya. So in Kenya, we use this a lot to spice up, jazz up our tea. And in Kenya, we call tea chai. So the chai tea that you get in Starbucks, it's not quite the same as we have in Kenya. But in Kenya, we actually cook the tea. So we put hot water in a saucepan. We put the tea leaves. We put the spices, or if you want, you can put fresh ginger and the cardamom, and you actually cook it on the stove. Add milk and then put it in a flask, and then you're good to go. So so I had that, and instead of sugar, which can be a bit hard to store, I had some agave syrup. This is actually one I already had here in Japan, but my mom uses the same agave syrup. I mean, I guess the American version. So I brought that in a small container. So that was very handy. So because you can use it for other things as well. So that was, it made the tea time very delicious. And then I, as I said, I had my own cutlery, and I also brought my own kind of little bowl, and I had a plate, but I couldn't find it for the life of me. Somewhere deep in my suitcase. I lost it in my suitcase, but I did find the bowl. So, I mean, this is just, what we have at home. So I asked my mom, can I take this back with me to Japan for quarantine? She's like, sure. So I did. And then I had my own snacks. I had brought this. Actually, I had brought this to eat, well, at the quarantine hotel, but also during the waiting time at Narita Airport, because, we had to wait like 5 hours to be processed and find out our hotel information and get our PCR test results. So for snacks at the airport, I love Cape Cod chips. Cape Cod, Massachusetts is a beautiful place by the sea at the tip of Massachusetts. So these are the Cape Cod chips. And then I had some dried mango, any kind of dried fruit you like. I bought these from Trader Joe's, but you can buy them at your local supermarket. And then in terms of activities to do during the day, after you've fed yourself and you've had your drinks, I had lots of books. So this is one of the books that I was reading about JFK. Well, he actually wrote this book, and JFK, John F. Kennedy, is from Massachusetts, so he's a fellow Bostonian. I love John Stott from All Souls Langham Place in London. He was our pastor there for a long time, till he passed away. So yeah, I was reading his book. And then my sister gave me, I love Lord of the Rings. So my sister gave me the trilogy plus The Hobbit for Christmas. So I had these there as well to keep me occupied. And obviously, I'm a Christian, so I would read my Bible. So I have my Bible here. And then I always use this morning kind of devotional, Jesus Calling. It's really lovely daily readings by Sarah Young. So Sarah Young was actually a missionary to Japan and Australia. So the way that she writes each little page is like Jesus talking to you directly. So I always enjoy these every morning. And then I would also do some journaling. So I brought a notebook and I would just make notes every day about, what God was speaking to me about, or people that I needed to reach out to, people I need to pray for, just things to give thanks for. I made my little notes there. So that was good. And then the other things I had were puzzles. I brought this puzzle. I didn't get around to actually doing it, but it was there just in case. And it's only 300 pieces because I'm really bad at puzzles. So I was like, okay, let me get one with the least amount of pieces for an adult. But I still haven't done it yet, but I do have a young friend who's 4 and she's looking forward to doing it with me. So she can help me out a lot with this one. And I'm studying Japanese, or trying to, so I had my textbook there. And then in the afternoons, usually I would chill out and listen to music, YouTube, or I download a lot of music on my iTunes, or I would watch a movie. So I had actually, before I went home to America, I had bought some movies on Google Play. So if you have the Google Play app, you can buy movies, you can rent movies, whichever you prefer. So I actually decided to buy movies. I mean, I would maybe buy like a couple of movies a month, over several months. So I didn't just buy all of these movies at once. And these are classics that I've watched many times before. So I know that I could watch them again and again and again, and I wouldn't get bored. So I mean, I have like The Sound of Music, Mary Poppins, Notting Hill. I do like Julia Roberts and Hugh Grant in that movie. I like Disney movies. One of my favorites is called Sing. I don't know if you can see that, Sing. So that movie, I actually downloaded it to my iPad, so I could actually watch that without needing to have Wi-Fi or any kind of internet connection. So when I was waiting at Narita Airport for my PCR results and the hotel information, I actually enjoyed that movie because I could just watch it very freely. So I would really recommend those kind of things if you want to enjoy your time in quarantine. Because otherwise there's really not that much else going on in the hotel room. You can't see anybody, you cannot step outside your door, you can't open your window. So just try to like occupy yourself. So those were, my good toolkits that really helped me out a lot. And obviously my friends here, or my friend actually, George stayed here in Saitama, but Olaf came with me from Boston, so I would chat to him sometimes. And he didn't say much in return, but he was a moral support. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. And the other last point, if I can find it. So for anybody who's coming to Japan, you all probably know about the certificate of testing, which is basically the COVID-19 certificate that you need to enter Japan. So Japan is very strict and they require a special certificate which you can, I think they actually give you, or you can download it from the ministry, from the immigration website, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or you can get it from your local consulate or embassy of Japan in your home country. So that certificate was really critical to being able to board the flight, first of all, to get to Japan. And then once you get to Japan, you have to show that certificate. Here it is. And it has the right kind of COVID test, because Japan, again, is very specific about the kind of COVID test that they want. They don't want just any test. So I had to get this. I guess the informal name is brain tickle. It's basically a nose swab, but it's like really high up. And I really did not like that test. I had to do it twice. Once to leave Japan to go to America. Because America suddenly changed the rules for the COVID test. We needed to test 1 day before our flight instead of 72 hours before. So on December 15th, a day before my flight, I had to basically run down to Tokyo to a clinic that I got lost finding, but eventually I found it. It's called T Medical in Shinjuku, underneath the Shinjuku Prince Hotel. And they give you the results within hours, the same day, I think I got mine within 4 hours of testing. So if you need a turnaround, quick test in a hurry, I really recommend that place. But they did the brain tickle one, the version, and I had to basically recover my nose afterwards. I went to a cafe and I sat down in shock, what just happened to me? So actually, when I was getting the tickle done, I pinched the nurse's arm while she was tickling me on my nose, and I screamed, and I was basically like a 5-year-old. So, but the nurse was very good humored, and she just laughed and said, "It's okay, it's over." But when you come back to Japan, you need that same test, and I can't even pronounce it. Nasal something, very long word. Swab. So actually, yeah, that's one of them. But there's several others here, but I couldn't find the places in Boston where they did the other options. My only option was that brain tickle one in Boston. Maybe your area you can do the other options that they have for Japan, but I couldn't find other options. And for me, actually, in Boston, I had booked a clinic to do the test to come back to Japan. And then the clinic, on the morning of the test date, they sent me a text message saying, "We've run out of test kits. We've run out of the swabs." And I was like, what? What is going on? I'm supposed to be getting my tests that day. And they had run out, and I called them. They couldn't answer their phone. Their voicemail was full. So basically I couldn't get hold of them. So I was kind of starting to slowly panic, but I decided, no, I'm not going to panic. There's got to be other ways around this. So the week before, or a few days before, I had actually gone to the Consulate General of Japan in Boston to have a meeting with the Deputy Consul General, a really nice man. And I ended up sending him an email about my predicament, do you have other options? Because all the other options on the Boston Consul General's website about where to get tested, all of them were basically full. I couldn't get seen basically until later that week, until after my flight had departed to come back to Japan. So I was like, what should I do, Mr. Deputy Consul? So I emailed him, and then I followed up with a phone call. And in the beginning, they were like, well, we're not sure, what to do. And I actually had a meeting as well to go to. So I was like, okay, fine. Let's connect later. And then I texted another friend, a really lovely Japanese lady. She's a clinical psychologist, and I basically texted her my issue. I can't get tested. My flight is the day after tomorrow. Do you have any advice? And she actually called me right away. She said, "Oh, there's this place I just found out about today, and it's not crowded, it's not busy. You can, they do walk-ins. You should go there." So that, to cut a long story short, that's what happened. I actually went there later that day after my meeting finished, and I got the test like around 4 in the afternoon, the brain tickle. And it was really interesting because when I went there, there was the nurse who did my test. She ended up being from Africa, from Algeria. So I said, oh, I'm from Kenya. And then I said, I live in Japan. And so we were exchanging our stories, how she had to learn English in Boston. And I said, I had to learn Japanese in Japan. And, we were just chatting away, and I was forgetting my test and she was forgetting to test me. And then her supervisor comes along and she's standing there for a minute listening to us. And then the supervisor cuts into the conversation. She said, oh, by the way, make sure that her test is the right one for Japan. Her representative called. And I was like, I didn't ask out loud, but I was thinking, who is my representative that called to make sure I got the right test? So to this day, I still don't know who called on my behalf, but thank you very much, whoever you are. I did get the right test. And then the next day I came back to the hospital. It was actually a hospital in downtown Boston. And I got my this government of Japan certificate filled out by another nurse, and they stamped it with their seal, and that was all I needed. So I was good to board my flight. So basically, make sure that you book in advance for your test to come back to Japan. The embassy definitely recommended doing it the 72 hours before, the day of the 72 hours. So I'm really glad I did it on the Monday. My flight was on Thursday, because if this issue had come up on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, it might have been a bit too tight to change things. So I think if you have everything in order, then re-entry is very smooth. If you have your toolkit in place, I think you'll enjoy quarantine. I think just look upon it as just a nice holiday. Just relax, watch movies, play games, talk to your friends. Relax. Take nice baths. Bring bath salts, which is something I forgot, but next time. And just hang out with yourself. Sometimes it's just good to spend time quietly, by yourself, thinking about stuff, talking to God, if you're a Christian, and just resting. I just think we don't rest enough in this culture. So that's my spiel for today. So if you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, have a nice evening. Goodbye from Olaf and Curious George. Sayonara.